The For You page over there on TikTok, when it be saying for you, it really be for you. It really be for you. There's this creator was talking about how sometimes you like one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do is cut your grandma off. And baby, as somebody who had to cut their own grandma off, this is a true story. And I did not cut my grandmother off out of anger or because I felt like she was a bad person or any of those things. I realized that my grandmother was the root of why my family moved the way they moved. She willingly accepted abuse from people because she understood why people were the way that they were. And I picked that up from her. Like because I understand why you move the way that you move, I'm letting you treat me certain ways because I understand it even though it's not okay for me. This was a learned behavior. And so for me in cutting my grandmother off, that was I cut my grandmother off. I cut my mama off at one point. I cut my daddy off, my aunts, my uncles. Like for me, once I try to have conversations with you and I get to a space where I realize and I accept that you are unwilling to address and take accountability for something, I leave people alone. And the first time I had to do it, which was with my mom, um, I did it out of anger and frustration. Then I had to go back to myself and learn how like it's okay. People did the best that they could with what they had. Forgive them. But even once you forgive people, if they are still actively choosing because they have not learned what they need to learn yet to move differently, sometimes you still got to move out the way and give people time to grow and progress. And with my grandmother, she passed away in February of 2023. December of 2022, right before Christmas, she called me and she said, and we hadn't talked for a minute, but she called me and she said, I just want you to know that I love you. And I said, I know, Grandma. I love you too. And she said, okay, we'll talk on Christmas. We never did. We never talked on Christmas. That was the last time I talked to her. But when she passed away, I was okay. And one of the biggest lessons I learned from her was tell people the truth. Whatever it is, tell people the truth. And whatever they give you in return after you tell the truth, you got to be okay with it. If somebody don't want to stay with you, don't want to be in your life, once you tell them the truth, you got to be okay with it. If somebody has hurt you or made you feel some type of way, don't just pretend like it's okay and let it pile up and keep going and you keep accepting it because something happened to them in their childhood that they hadn't dealt with and now you know that they projecting it onto you and you just sit in it. Don't. No. You gotta address it and let them deal with what they need to deal with. And if they're not willing to deal with it, you cannot continue to accept abuse from them because they are unwilling to do their part. And sometimes that looks like you letting people go out of love, because as long as you accept it, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting them too, because you're not giving them the space to grow. You're ultimately telling them that they can continue this behavior and there are no consequences to this abuse. And they can just apologize to you. Sometimes they don't even apologize and you'll let them keep coming back. And this is also a deeper issue when you get into Christianity and religion, because a lot of us have been taught that as a Christian, you got to accept anything. Forgiving people is them telling you that they sorry over and over again, and you got to keep forgiving them because God told you so. And you can forgive people, but you can also let people go. You do not allow people to keep abusing you. You become a fool at that point. And you are ultimately self-abusing. You are abusing yourself because you refuse to recognize what is happening and move accordingly. And you just keep praying for a better day. Praying that somebody that's abusing you will change and love you the way you wanted your parents to love you when you were a child someday. Set yourself free.